to bring in war veteran Nick Colgin. He was stationed in Afghanistan for a year and a half, was awarded the Bronze Star. Nick, you just started reporting on Sergeant Bales as a young man growing up. I was just jotting down adjectives like accepting, empathetic. He was a good guy, a leader. When you hear all of that and then you know about what he's accused of doing, what's your reaction?
It's hard to even put it into words because I was in a similar situation in Afghanistan. I served at a small fire base. I did 15 months in Afghanistan, and just like Staff Sergeant Bales, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And it's hard to believe that something like this could happen because it's not representative of the 2.4 million veterans that have served in Iraq or Afghanistan up to this point.
Nick, you point out the similarities of your tours and where you were based, and if you can, help us who've never been to war understand what life is like. I mean, you know, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed, what is a day like, and describe the stresses.
You can hardly describe it. You're sleeping out on the ground in the middle of Afghanistan, you're getting shot at day in, day out. You're having to worry about the stresses of life back home, but that's when you turn to your battle buddies to your left and your right to kind of get that peer support. And while overseas, I saved the life of a French soldier who had been shot in the head. We also lost a few Special Forces individuals that same night, but I went back to base, got about 3 hours worth of sleep, and headed back out the next day. But I served honorably overseas. I helped save 42 Afghanis from a flooding river, and it's hard to imagine something like this could happen.
And we thank you for your service, but I mean, I just have to ask, is there anyone on base who, if you need to talk to somebody, you mentioned stresses back at home, certainly that's, you know, present of mind, as well as, you know, what you're doing, being shot at day in and day out. Do you feel like there's an outlet instead of, you know, leaving base and doing something you would regret?
Oh, while I was over in Afghanistan, there was definitely an outlet, and I've seen it work before where we had a couple individuals, they were starting to feel combat stress quite heavily. They self-identified, and we sent them from our fire base back to the main base Bagram, and they saw individuals in combat stress, basically mental health specialists, and I don't hold it against them. I'm still friends with them to this day, and I think those types of mechanisms are in place, and the command should support it just like they did in my case.
I don't know if you've ever been stationed quite at a location where Sergeant Bales was in the Panjwai district of Kandahar, where he was living, you know, at this outpost in these metal cargo containers, you know, in a place like that. What kind of supervision would soldiers get in that kind of environment? Can you just help set the scene for me?
Oh, well, definitely. It's important to remember that when you're deployed to Afghanistan, especially at a small fire base, it's not like working in the States where you go to 9 to 5 and you only see the individuals you work with then. While you're overseas, while I was overseas, I think most nights I was never more than 5 feet away from my commander whenever I went to bed. And you're with the guys you serve with 100% of the time. So any small changes in each other, you notice, and it's almost like they become one with you. So it's hard to imagine that something like this could happen. It's important not to jump to stereotypes as well, but you spend a lot of time with your brothers and sisters in arms overseas. Well,
you mentioned that, you know, both you and Sergeant Bales suffered a TBI, traumatic brain injury. You know, he had suffered in Iraq, ended up deploying to Afghanistan, had voiced, according to reports, you know, that he didn't really want to go. How were you functioning? How are you currently functioning post-TBI?
It's still a struggle every day, and while I was overseas, I sought help for a TBI, and they realized that I could finish out the extra month of deployment I had left. I got back and ended up getting diagnosed with a TBI, and it was hard. Coming home is hard for any soldier, and I was fortunate enough to get looped in with the VA hospital and with groups such as Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and they got me the help I needed. But there definitely needs to be a higher focus on mental health screening if that was the case in this incident. Like I said, it's hard not to jump to conclusions, but America needs to be 100% focused on getting troops the support and resources they need from the second they deploy to for the rest of their lives, quite frankly.
We know that he did have that traumatic brain injury. Also, was lost part of his foot because of an explosion in Iraq, and ultimately, he had voiced he wanted to be a recruiter. Or via his wife's blog, they wanted to maybe move to Hawaii or Germany, and that didn't happen. He ends up, going back to Afghanistan. And from what I understand, he did voice some concern about not being deployed. I mean, Nick, ultimately, if you don't feel something is quite right, can you say no?
Honestly, quite frankly, I haven't experienced that. I actually volunteered for my deployment, and then there was others in my aid station before I deployed that were trying to fight to get on deployments, and it may have been just the culture from where I was at Fort Bragg with 82nd Airborne Division, but I'm sure there's mechanisms in place because I wouldn't want to go overseas and risk my life every day as a medic if the guy to my left or right or the female to my left or right didn't want to be there. And I'm sure that's the same for the command, but the culture down where I was at with Fort Bragg is we join to serve our country and we want to make them proud of us.
Nick Colgin, Afghanistan war veteran, sir, we appreciate you. We appreciate your service. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sincerely, thank you.
Thank you. Now this.